Hi, I'm Jamie.
I'm Jen.
Welcome to our podcast, All Things Unbroken.
Life breaks us in ways we never expect, but God rebuilds us in ways we could never imagine.
So come hang with us as we talk about relationships, motherhood, wellness, grief, recovery,
and the slow, beautiful process of becoming unbroken.
Hi, cousin.
Hello, cousin. How are
How are you?
you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. We were just visiting. The sun's out today and it's in the 60s. How about you?
Yeah, I don't know what the temperature is, but man, I think the snow is either all gone or it's just like barely hanging on out there.
Here we
Feels
are.
great.
We made it through. So we're talking now. It's been a long, I'd say, week and a half for both of us. I'm in Texas, Jamie's in Oklahoma, and we both just survived it was an ice storm more than snow. We did get a lot of snow out over here, but it was a lot of ice. And we were both pretty much landlocked in our homes for days at a time. And I feel like it's really the new year starting this week in February. I'm like,
Right?
what just happened?
Right?
Just
Did it feel like we were
happened?
just trying to get into like some sort of routine and then life just really kind of stopped?
It did.
is
It reminded
okay.
me of, it was like COVID almost again, honestly. It
Yeah.
was, and
Not for me, but I get it. Yeah.
yeah, it was like, I'm talking about just like not going anywhere, like that type of feeling. Well, I guess, yeah.
When we were in COVID, we still had to work like I was gone more probably during COVID.
Yeah, because you were
than-
working. Like
I was working and Shane was having to work like 15 hours a day, 7 days a week because he was in the medical setting. And
right.
Yeah, it was fun.
So for
But
me
yeah, I get
during
it.
COVID, we didn't have kids. We were like my husband, yeah, my husband and I both worked remote. So for us, that's why it felt
Okay.
like that, because we were literally both just remote working from home. So
Gotcha.
yes, you're right.
You were
I didn't even think about
trapped.
that. We weren't really talking during that time, so I didn't know where your life was. I mean, I knew
Yeah.
now, I know, but anyways,
Yeah.
yesterday was my first day in 10 days to drive off my property. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
It is. There's been a couple times throughout the week that Alex drove me to the feed store, and then we went to dinner like one time. And I really realized like how I know how country I am now. Like, when did that happen? But I took my daughter to her program yesterday, and I walked in. I was like, oh my gosh, it was just different. I don't know. How about you? How
You're
did you
such a
survive it?
country
Like,
girl.
we're okay. We're okay. Our goats made it and all the things, so we're good.
Yeah. You were out there taking care of all those babies.
I was, and
Making
it
sure they
made me
had hay.
also appreciate all my rancher and farmer friends who are literally out there breaking ice for the cattle and doing the things every day. And I have a really good friend and her husband. He has a ranch in Oklahoma and a farm. I mean, he's out there doing the things. And I know we kind of joke about it, but like what I do is nothing compared to what they do at all. And I can only imagine that life. And I'm so thankful for all of them and our first responders and everything, because
yes,
wrecks and all the things that happened.
They don't get to
we're
just
very
stay warm.
No, we're so blessed. We're so lucky. We're so lucky.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, but you're right. So much gratitude for those people. So thank you all for being for being out there and keeping the world running while the rest of us were stuck inside. Appreciate it.
How are you doing, like, mentally after all the things? I know you were with your kids at home for
yeah,
years or different ages.
Interesting is I think when we're like go go go, sometimes I almost like crave that, like, oh, I wish we'd have like weather where we're just stuck inside or something like that. But then when it happens, it never really goes like the way I planned. And honestly, I have so many little like things I'm learning and little projects and little things like that we're working on. I found myself kind of like, I think my body and mind were kind of going into like hibernation mode. So I was just like, I don't want to move a whole lot. And I would sit on the couch with my laptop and do these things. Then I'm looking over and I'm feeling guilty because I'm like, I need to be like playing games with my kids, which we did. We had some, I did a lot of cooking beforehand. And so we had all the food ready. Got a couple extra groceries, but mostly did just a lot of cooking. Honestly, I don't know. I feel like I look back at it now and it kind of feels a little bit like a blur. But I do remember sitting there thinking like I should definitely like maybe have a little more routine or like stop working for a minute and like go work on my puzzle. But we sat and played some cards and we did some different things and watched movies and I don't know, it's kind of fun. So, but I
Yeah.
mean, we don't live on a huge property. So for me to leave my house, it's not really that big of a deal. And just to be
I'm so
really honest,
dramatic is what you're saying. No.
no, you're not. Just a different
Sorry.
setting
Yeah.
because we live more in the suburbs, kind of like on the outside of the suburbs, but where it kind of feels country-ish, but not. And we have a four-wheel drive vehicle. So honestly, I probably could have left the house if I wanted to.
Right.
But
Right.
one of my kids was definitely upset every day when school was canceled because she loves school and she had a cheer competition coming up. And so she wanted to be at practice, getting ready and working on her routine, and she wanted to be at school with her friends. And the other one was like, no, we can never go back to school and be fine with it.
Movie
So,
day every day.
but yeah, I would say schedule wise, mentally, emotionally, whatever you want to call it, it feels like it was just kind of a big blur. And I probably should have got made myself get up and be more active. Maybe make myself go outside. I mean, we did play outside one day and um, a couple things like that, but I don't
We
know.
made
I
it.
just feel like mostly my body was like wanting to hibernate, and so I didn't fight it too much.
Good. I think that that's a really good reminder just how our culture as humans, we always feel like we have to be doing something.
Yes,
We do. I mean,
we were raised that way.
I'm guilty that as well, like of that as well. It's coming up on 2 years of when I left my um the university that I worked for full time for years. And looking back the last 2 years, it's like even though I say, and I have been more intentional to slowing down, I still feel that, and we talk about this a lot, is like the striving for things, right? So even
Hmm.
like, okay, this is what I'm doing, these are my goals, whatever. It's still that human part of us that we're still like we think we should be. So even by you saying like, oh, we had these days and I did this, but I feel like I should have been doing movement, like that is part of the striving in us. And that's something that I've talked a lot about actually recently, I think. And um I would love to look more into that, read more, whatever, talk more about that. But I think that is something also that I am trying to surrender to God and be like, okay, like, what do you want me to do? Like, what do you want me to do? Like,
Hmm.
maybe it is sit around and do puzzles all day. Maybe it
Yeah.
is get off my computer. Maybe it is, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? But that's interesting because I also felt like that. My daughter was sick for half of the time too.
Mm-hmm.
So she literally pretty much slept for like she had a fever for like 6 days, like 5 days. It was a while. But and she's a little younger, so she naps and stuff anyways. But it's also like so she did not go outside for the whole time, but I was obviously outside taking care of the animals. And it's kind of funny how just that feeling of like not isolation, but away from like you're saying, like you could have gone out, but you didn't. Like our
Hmm.
roads were just bad. Like my husband didn't even drive for the first 3 days. We have 4-wheel drive too. We did get out a little, but I guess he didn't trust me getting out there. I see, even though I am from Oklahoma and I remember like sliding around. I remember one time I was out, I had no business to be driving in the ice. If my parents were still alive, I have a lot of questions I would have asked them actually when I was a teenager. We'll go into that at a different time. But I remember one time that I was like trying to stop at a stop sign. I like bumped into the cop car and I got out and like ran around to like, oh, I'm okay. My friend reminded me that of this ice store. And I was like, oh my gosh.
I think I remember that.
And nothing happened. I mean, this was also, I was, 18 or whatever. So it was 20 something years ago. But if someone did that now, like, oh my gosh, like you don't do that anyways. But what I'm
Yeah, I
saying is,
remember. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, back in the day, we were driving in the ice and all the things. And now I'm like in my
Oh
40s, like,
yeah.
okay, that road's icy. I'm going to just stay right. It's like,
I
what's
know. Are
happening?
we so like lucky or blessed or like I
Yes.
don't know. Life is different now because I mean up until June of 2022 I worked outside the house. So I just always went to work in the middle of COVID, in the middle of all the things. But even
I
as
know.
like a
I didn't even think
16-year
about
old, I had to be at work and I had a little like Pontiac
baby.
Sunfire, a little teeny car. I had no
Yeah.
weight to it. It was definitely not four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive or anything.
I
And
mean,
I'd slide into a ditch and then somebody come pull me out and then I'd go to work. Like, this is what
now
you
we're
did.
like, it is, and and it makes me laugh because I was seeing these memes of like, we're in our 40s, in our 30s, in our 20s, and like the different things. But also in
Mhm.
my 20s, I wouldn't have been caught dead walking 500 feet to go feed my goats and
No.
shovel and put hay out for them and do all that stuff. Okay, so I'll do that stuff now, but I just won't go drive on ice. So I don't know. Something just changed there. I don't know what it is, but
Yeah.
we all
I
have
don't
our
know.
things. Anyways, sorry, kind of
That's a
got off
good
track.
point.
But
No, that's good. But
I
it
did
did feel
feel,
good
yeah.
to finally get out of the
Good.
house.
Yeah.
Once we had, even though it was still cold outside, once I could kind of see the road a little bit, I texted my neighbor friend. It was her 89th birthday. I texted her and I was like, "Do you want to go for a walk?" And so I walked around her driveway and met her. And then went, because I told her, I said, the roads are at least clear. And I made sure it wasn't icy or anything. So it was like, oh, so nice to get out of the house and, you know, just get some
And
fresh
happy
air and
89th
sunshine.
birthday.
I know, isn't that cool? How
Yeah.
inspiring to like go get out and go for walks in the cold and
Yeah. And she lives by
yeah.
herself, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She lives with
I
her
didn't.
kids.
Sorry. Okay. I didn't know. Okay. This is sorry. They have two neighbor. Okay. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I'm sure they
She's
appreciate it.
really
I
cool.
love that you do that. And you took her sourdough.
I did. I made her a sourdough and took it to her, but it was just
I'm
nice
so
to get
proud of
out of the
you.
house. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's so good. Um,
Thank you.
anyways,
Are you ready?
I'm
You
ready.
ready
Let's
for
go.
what I've prepared?
Yeah.
Actually goes
Jamie.
pretty well with
Yeah.
what we were talking about because that has to do with a little bit of anxiety, which I didn't really know what anxiety was until I was, I think, in my 20s. But I remember kind of growing up and going through life and feeling very like this sort of like heaviness that people around me probably were struggling with similar things. But from me looking from my perspective, I always felt like I kind of had this thing and nobody else did. And it was like, why can't I breathe? Or why am I nervous? Or, all these different things. And there's a lot of layers there. But I remember when I was in my early 20s, we had this little old house I shared with a roommate in Oklahoma City, and our bedrooms were like upstairs, and it was this like really cute old historic house. And I remember being in my room. I loved that room, and I just remember thinking like, Lord, like why do I always feel like this? And I had heard this verse that said something about like don't be anxious for anything, and I was like, what? How do you just not be anxious, right? So I actually took the time to sit down and read through it and kind of pick it apart, which was sort of a new thing for me because I think growing up hearing it all the time, we just heard like to me it was just like we heard the verses and people kind of said them and then you just kind of like still strive, like you still like kind of white knuckle through life. And I didn't really know how to sit down and actually do the things. So I just remember like this very felt like a very significant moment where I was praying about this. And I almost felt like the Lord just kind of showed me like this is almost like a very simple prescription. I use that word very lightly, obviously. We're not doctors, we're not whatever. This is a very specific biblical prescription for anxiety. And it's in Philippians, which we talked about a little bit last time. We talked about Philippians, but this is actually a little bit earlier in the chapter. So for like the history nerds out there like me, this was just the Apostle Paul had started this little church in Philippi, which was a Roman colony in what's like modern day Greece. And so he was writing them a letter and he was just encouraging them despite persecution, despite all these things going on. He was just trying to give them like practical things to help them get through. And that's why I feel like today we can still read it and it's still so good for now. So that's kind of where all of that came from for me. Um, I will start. I'm going to start in verse 4 because I feel like there's a lot of pieces of this chapter that people just pick out. But when you put them all together, it's actually a really nice picture. So the first verse says, "Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I say rejoice." Like we could probably just pause right there and say, like, if we were always rejoicing in the Lord, how anxious would we actually be? Do you know what I mean?
Well, they say, I mean, there's, I go with studies, they say it's in the Bible, it's also in self help books, whatever, that if you are being thankful, anxiety does not exist. If you stop where you
Yeah.
are and you are thankful, if you are grateful, if you literally, if you stop yourself in the middle of it, and I've done this before, I'm sure you have,
Mhm.
but obviously, if you're spiraling as well, it's really hard to be like, okay, I'm going to be thankful. But if you literally
Right.
write down or speak out, I am grateful for the sunshine. I am grateful for my house. I am grateful for this conversation. Literally, it stops.
Yeah.
It's just we don't do it a lot because we get in our heads, right?
It's like they say our brains can't do both at the same time. Or I've
Mm-mm.
heard people call it like
Yeah.
vitamin G, gratitude.
Yes.
Yes. I mean,
And
but
that's what the
even I
Bible
haven't
is literally
even,
telling you to like rejoice, be like rejoice, sing songs, be grateful.
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Sorry.
It's
Yeah.
so funny because even before we even get into the part about being anxious, the one of the very first things he says
Rejoice.
after his greeting is the first thing. So I would say when I actually first started looking at this, I started around verse 6. But I want to say if you want to really like write it down and go step by step, step number
4.
one, rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I
Okay.
will say rejoice. So he emphasizes it. Number
Be
one, rejoice in the
thankful.
Lord always. Not even thankful yet, but yes,
Oh,
we'll get to
yes.
that one.
Okay. Okay. Go. Yep. Sorry.
Just keeping our mind on the Lord keeps our minds off of ourselves. Like to me, that one's hitting me really hard right now.
Mm.
Um, verse 5 says, let your gentleness be known to all men. The Lord is at hand. I think what he's saying there is like, despite the persecution, despite everything going on, make it your reputation that you're a gentle person. I think when people can't become defensive and angry and aggressive, I don't think it does anything to share the gospel. I think it just pushes people off. So calling people in the middle of um calling people in the middle of persecution to be gentle, like that right there is also counterintuitive and kind of,
Say, will you, so let's say that in a way, let's do some life experience that way. Okay. So,
okay,
so
I
you're
like it.
say calling people in the middle of persecution. So are we saying like, I'm not going to call you when I'm in the middle of my storm to try to be gentle with you because it's not going to come out that way? Or what are you saying by that?
No, I'm saying Paul was writing to the church of Philippi and telling this to them when they were in the middle of persecution.
Understood.
Like he
Okay.
was challenging them to say, number one, like I really do see this as like a full like how to. Like this is how to deal. Number one, rejoice in the Lord. Number two, let your gentleness blah blah blah. Let your gentleness be known to all men. The Lord
Okay.
is at hand. Like this is serious.
Okay.
Now we get into the part where a lot of people have heard and quoted and love it. And I know a lot of people go back to this passage for the same reason that I do. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. That's verse 6. We can pause there. Don't be anxious for anything, but instead, this is what we're going to do. So, literally, if we can practice the pause when we're feeling some kind of way, whether we're trapped inside or whatever is going on, stress, hormones, life, kids, the things. Number one, just pause and rejoice. Let your gentleness be known to all men in your conversation and how you act and how you treat people. Then be anxious for nothing, but instead, in everything, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. So he's not just saying, don't be anxious. You know, like sometimes if our kids are upset, we're just like, hey, stop the, like calm down or whatever. And it's like, he doesn't just tell us, don't do this. He tells us what to do instead. And it really does feel like a perfect prescription of like, that's how this is going to shift. And that's, I think, why I love this passage so much, because I feel like nowadays people go to so many lengths for so much help, like emotionally or mentally, and all those things can be so good and helpful. But I really think this is at least a very good starting point.
I remember you telling me this story before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
love it. I love it because I feel like, and also I'm going to say this too. One of the reasons I love your heart and just who you are, the fact that you are in your 20s and figuring this out, like it has taken me to be in my 40s to even
Oh,
start. Like the Bible has come more alive to me the last few years than it ever has. And I used to study and I used to like sit and do quiet times, but there's just it's different when you're going through life and like when you find things like this, it is literally like, okay, like this is what we're going to do. I'm going to pause. We're going to rejoice. We're going to be thankful, you know, then move on. It's like our first reaction is to be angry at things. But if our first reaction to be like pause and say, not about me, they're reacting because they're going through, if you can just look at everyone around you, like they're going through their own things. We had a conversation earlier about people and we're like immediately like, oh, well, they're doing this and they're doing this. Like, no, instead of pausing and being like, you know what, they must be really going through something. That is their perception of life is why they're coming out at me. That will help you be
yeah.
more gentle to people. Cause I know that if I look at someone who is not very nice and being rude and all the things and done horrible things, and if I can look at them and being like something in their life has caused them to do this, or they are reacting because A, B, C, and D, I am more
Mm,
gentle. I am more gentle with my judgment. Okay. And believe me, we all judge. And then in the
yeah.
end, going back to don't be anxious, but rejoice. And it's not being, I am the most anxious person. I can be very anxious. I don't know if you remember, we were living together. It was right after my dad died. So my dad passed away 2006. And then I went away for a little bit. And then I came back. We'll go into that whenever we get my testimony. I came back and then Jamie and I lived together. What year was that? It was like 2007, I think, probably. We were both in our 20s. You were in your early 20s.
I think it was 2008 or 9.
Yeah, because I moved to Ohio like in 2009 or 10. So yeah, I was sorry, it was 2009, I think. Anyways,
Right.
and I was finishing my classes online. You were working at Starbucks and you were going to school and we had an apartment together. That was my first time I started having anxiety. Do you remember that? Like we didn't know what it was, but I feel like I was having a heart attack and you would come and sit. You probably don't remember. You would like sit with me and I didn't know what it
I,
was, but my mom, I finally called her because this was when she was still living. And she's like, "You're having a panic attack." So my anxiety and my panic attack started coming after my dad died, and then obviously after I was divorced for the first time, and that's when I started like really feeling like the not just anxious thoughts. I really like started experiencing anxiety.
yeah.
And I wish I would have known maybe this more than it doesn't matter. But just looking at this now and knowing since those times that I lived with you and how I've learned things, therapy, church, prayer, doing the things
Yeah.
now, how I handle it different than I did, I guess I was 20 years ago, almost like
Oh,
15, whatever.
we're not that old. No.
No, I mean, it was like 18 years ago, but more than a
Oh, I
decade
know.
ago, like the Bible speaks to us differently. We're different now.
Hmm.
Anyways,
We
it's
didn't
just, I
know.
know
Yeah, I do kind of remember that. But also I was so young. I didn't know at that point what it was because this was a couple years before I moved into that other house. Because
mhm.
I
we
think
split
you
up and then you moved
moved
into
and
the
then
house a few years later. Yeah. Yeah.
yes. And so I wish I would have known more back then. I guess I did sit with with you, so at least I did that. But I don't think I really would have known what
You're a
was
little
going.
hard. I remember specifically you coming in and I was like, I cannot breathe. Like I almost went to the
Mhm.
hospital. And I was like, can you just lay with me? And you just laid with me. You don't remember. You did. You were like, we talked. You're like my little baby cousin. So I can't call you that anymore. I'm just kidding.
You
Um,
can.
but it's like, that's just who you were. You've always been that way. You've always had a big heart and you've always just wanted to help people.
Mhm.
And I'm telling that story here because I love that this is one of the things you brought up is because being anxious. And I think in today's world, we are all anxious about something. There's so many reasons why the media, news, things happening in the world, social media, all
Life
the striving,
stress. Yeah.
all of it. Yeah. So thank you
I
this
think
is
so too.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, honestly, I mean, I need to go back to it more often myself, but I think, and like I said, I don't want it to sound like I'm not recommending other things because there are
Oh, of
definitely like
course. Yeah.
programs, medications, things out there. But I'm learning as I get older, and the more I read about these things, and the more I experience, and more of my own healing, so many of our symptoms, I think, in our bodies come from our nervous system being dysregulated for some reason. I mean, like inflammation, all these things. And it's like so much of it, not all of it, but a lot of it starts in the mind. And it's not easy. The battlefield of the mind is like one of the most difficult places, I think, for most people. But a lot of people maybe not even aware of it, or they haven't been taught, or it wasn't shown to them as an example of what to do, or any number of things. So that's why I just wanted to put this out there. But even after verse 6, when it tells you everything in prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, like you said, being thankful, the gratitude, let your request be known to God. And then in verse 7, it talks about what happens as a result of that. So when we take the time to stop, rejoice, be gentle, don't be anxious, make our requests known to God with gratitude through prayer, this is the result that he tells us in verse 7. The peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. And I can tell you, I have lived that. I probably should have lived it more than I actually did, but I have certainly had those moments where not only did I actually go to God the way I was supposed to, rewire my mind or stop the spiral, like we always talk about, shift back to focusing on what's important. And even how you were talking a minute ago about like interacting with other people. And as you were saying that, it made me think like maybe that's why it's one of the reasons where it starts with rejoice in the Lord always before it talks about how you interact with people, because maybe that rejoicing in the Lord first shifts our mind from our fleshly things into spiritual things. And then we can look at the people around us with those eyes, like you were talking about, I think.
Yes. I'm over here shaking my head because there's so much you just said there that we could just end it. No, I'm just kidding. There is just something to be said about those quiet moments before anyone is awake in the house, or anytime you're alone and having a moment, meditating, reading the scripture, listening to, like for me lately, it's been Joyce Meyer podcast, which she also has Battlefield of the Mind.
Mm-hmm.
There's just something about those moments, if you do them specifically in the morning, if you can. But as for me, when I do it, and then when I go out and interact with people, my heart is softer, my
Yeah.
mind is softer. If I wake up and if I like send a friend a prayer, I've done it before, like, hey, I'm praying for you, and like really like just say it for them. If I pull
Mm-hmm.
up my group thing and like I see some prayer requests and like actually pray for the other people, I will tell you my whole day is completely different than if I would get up and it doesn't happen all the time. But and as of course we've talked about this last year, losing our last baby and then going through that and talking about this piece that you just spoke about, like
Mm-hmm.
I feel that. I feel that different this time than I did when I lost Madison or when I lost my mom or my dad or the things. I feel it different this year. And I know you've gone through some like things that you are. And so again, we said it the last time we talked, it's really hard to explain that feeling of peace whenever you felt it. But I will tell you, we are standing and we are smiling and still pretty joyful because the peace that he's given us, not because we're perfect at stopping and rejoicing. I mean, not that we're perfect at it, but we need to be striving for those things. Speaking of being striving, we need to strive, at least for me, for this and not
Yeah.
the other things that were like, oh, I should be doing that. I gotta be doing the dishes. Oh, I gotta organize my closet. Oh, the kids need this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is what we should be striving for. Because I think if we strive for these things, the other things just come in place.
Yeah, absolutely. We would live out of a whole different type of alignment like that.
Like if we just
And
talk
we're
like this for an hour every day, we'd probably be totally different.
yeah. And we're
Which we
like, I don't
don't.
know about
We
you,
don't.
but I'm like talking to myself too. Like,
Yes. No, but um, I think honestly, too, what's big in here, and you hear it all the places, and it says it in the Bible. Well, for one, it's so crazy because like I'm 42 and I'm like, oh, and I've been reading the Bible for a long time. It's like, oh, it's like just speaking different to me. But like
Mm-hmm.
the Bible literally says, he says, pause.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I'm terrible at that in life. Ask my husband or any of my closest friends, and you know me, like, pause before you talk back, before you speak, before you do anything. Pause.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God. My whole thing lately has been like, God, where do you want me in this conversation? Even whenever we're together, God, what do you want out of this? It's not about me. It's not about Jamie or anything, even with my family, whatever. And if we can do that every day and practice that, it really things do transform, I think.
Absolutely. I'm going to be coming back to listen just to hear you say that on the podcast because I'm
I'm
going
going
to
to,
need that
no, I'm
so
going to come back
much.
to listen to you say the whole, like it is, so say, repeat it real quick. So pause, you had it step by step, pause, rejoice. Go ahead.
So, yeah. So, for starters, rejoice in the Lord
Okay.
always. Number one. Number two, let your gentleness be known to all men. Number three, be anxious for nothing, but instead, we're going to do this. But instead, in everything, like every area of our lives, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God.
I think about when you say that, you know, my friend and I, Katie, which we're going to have her on to talk about all the time. We were literally just
Mhm.
talking about that. She was kind of going through some things.
Mm,
And we were talking about like when God says no, or when we're waiting for things, or like when we think things should be happening faster, whatever those things are. And one of the things that came up for me is, obviously this last year we had a pretty big no. And we were talking and she's like, Jen, I have like my journals where I was praying for Lily, and every time you heard the heartbeat and all the things, like she was really in it with me praying for this
mm,
baby. And then for me too, I mean, you all know, like every day, like praying, going to each appointment, like we're all doing good. And then at the end of that, being told no, like, and then delivering her. And I did have a moment where I paused this week, and there's some things coming up, like mom's death anniversaries this week, and just like kind of just reflecting, which I do all the time in my head, but just reflecting on life and death and like why things happen. And we just had a couple of things happen here in Texas. There's been some children that drowned over the ice storm. Just this life happening. Like
mm.
why do some people live and some people die? Why do some babies be born and some people aren't? Like all the things, bad
Yeah.
things. And personally, for me, like just pausing, and for me, how I've gotten through this last year is still being thankful in the pain. And I know that sounds so cliche. And I even had someone say, like, sometimes you don't feel like being thankful. Yes, I know. Like
Yeah.
I know, like, yes, I get it. But it's like the moment that we stop being thankful, and not that I'm thankful that our daughter didn't live. I'm not thankful that my mom
Right.
took her life. I'm not thankful for those things, but I can
Right.
find something in life to be thankful for and blessed. We all can find
Yeah.
something. And I think that's what gives me hope, is just searching for something to be thankful to God for. Right. So I'm thankful that I have
Yeah.
my daughter. I'm thankful for our relationship being mended. I'm thankful that my grandma's about to have her 95th birthday and that
Yeah.
I can ask her questions, and you can go through it. So yes, I'm not thankful for the bad things. I'm really not thankful for them. If I'm being honest, but it's when you search for things, what I think this first, like when you search for things to be thankful for.
Right.
And as long as we keep doing that, I think we'll be okay.
Yes. And I think that brings a really, really good point to this that I had not thought of before was that it says, with everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. The next verse does not say you will get every request
Mm.
answered the way you want it. So thank you for bringing that up. The last verse, like we mentioned before, what it says is the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds through Christ Jesus. It never says you make this request and he's going to hand it over. What it says is your heart and your mind will be guarded and you will have peace that passes understanding. And look, you're living it.
The, I'm going to cry.
Oh,
Because it is a peace that surpasses any understanding. And I don't know if I will ever understand it, but I will tell you again, I will say this 20 times, for like, oh my gosh, Jen, stop saying it. I'm 42. And this year I have had more peace than than I have in 42 years. And it definitely surpasses all understanding. I don't know
Yeah.
if I made that makes sense, but thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for bringing this
Absolutely. I
verse.
think we'll just stay in Philippians for a little bit
I
because
love,
it's so
yeah,
good. I know we talked about it a little bit last week, and even the verses I'm seeing after this, I'm like, oh man, that's another good one. Like, honestly, all of Philippians 4, I highly recommend just for little how to's of like how to guard your mind, how to guard your heart, showing gratitude, taking things to the Lord in prayer. And the very next passage goes into what we should be thinking on. So when we talk about things like mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, like this is a great place to go. It's very practical and it's very real. And I love that. So I think I just
I
want to
think,
leave people with the encouragement to just like go to Philippians 4 and dig
yeah.
in.
And then also pay attention to what you're watching, what you're listening to,
Oh, yeah.
what you're eating. That's what this is saying, though. And again,
Mhm.
it's not that we're perfect about it. I mean, I just went and had some
Yeah,
fast food earlier. I don't love fast food. Actually, I do love it, but I shouldn't love it. But I mean, things like that. It's not that we're. And that's another thing. It's not like an all or nothing, but it is something. Like we have something to lead us there. And if you can do something 85% of the time, 60% of the time, you will see a difference. And just like whenever like if you're having a bad day and you're like, oh, I really know I should get out and go on a walk. And you don't want to, you going and doing that, I promise will change your whole day if it's sunny outside, if you're able to. You know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
but something in our minds, like when that happens, it's like we don't reach for those things. And we can get into this a different time, but it's so funny how things that we know we should do, we don't always do it. And that is also a mental mindset as well. Um,
That's another thing that Paul says in the New Testament.
Go ahead.
We're getting into like so many different, no, we'll
Yeah,
save
I
that
love
one
it.
for another day. We'll save that one for
Thank you.
another day.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I
Okay.
just think there is a lot of biblical wisdom that can give us very practical results if we'll just take it that way and apply it. And I didn't
Mhm.
know that for the longest time. And so when I realized it, it helped me get through so many things. And honestly, it doesn't mean that, like you said, it doesn't mean that the bad things don't come. It just means that we know what to do and where to go when they do. And again, not that we're going to get what we want, but that we will have the peace and we'll be able to have our minds and our hearts guarded. So
Thank
that's
you to
it.
my beautiful cousin for bringing this here. She
Thank
is
you for
my
letting
Bible
me.
wizard.
No, no,
You
no,
are.
I'm
You're so
just
good.
a practical, I'm just a regular,
You are
just
one
a
of my
regular
people that
woman
I
like
will
you.
go to whenever if I need something, like you become that person for me to go to, be like, hey, I'm having this problem, A, B, C, or D with this. And
Mm.
you are very wise as to be like, this is where it is in the Bible. Like, and that, thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I will say that was part of my upbringing was a church that was very, very Bible centric, as they should be. And so I'm very grateful for that.
Yes.
So
Okay, I'm grateful for you.
I'm happy to keep learning and I'm happy to keep sharing and we'll just keep walking through this thing together.
Keep
But
trucking along. All right.
yeah,
Go enjoy the sun.
yes,
All
you
right.
too.
Bye. Love you.
Love you. Bye.
Love you.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We truly hope this episode has touched your heart.
If someone came to mind while you were listening, please feel free to share this with them.
And if you have any questions or feedback for us, you can reach us at allthingsunbrokenpodcast@gmail.com.
Have an awesome day.